Hello and welcome back to San Diego County Office of Ed's Profiles in Power series, where we are highlighting Black educators across our county to celebrate their work, their personal stories, and shine a light on the important work they do in service of our students. My name is Dr. Stephen Dorsey, Executive Leadership Coach with San Diego County Office of Ed, Equity Department, and today I have the great privilege of interviewing an amazing local Black educator, Mr. Jamal Felton, the College and Career Guidance Technician for Rancho Bernardo High School in Poway Unified School District, where they know equity is about power and how we use it. Thank you, Miss Monique Morris. Mr. Felton, good morning. How are you?
I'm well. I'm very well. How are you doing, Mr. Dorsey?
I am
Dr. Dorsey.
well, doing well. We're going to jump off, my man. But so,
okay.
Jamal, just tell us your story. Tell us a little bit about your background and your experiences.
So I'm not a native of San Diego, but I grew up in San Diego. Did all my schooling there. I was an athlete and a student. I went to Mount Carmel High School, graduated in 1996. I then went to Palomar College, so I was part of the community college system. Left and moved to the East Coast and went to the University of Rhode Island, where I went to school and played football. And after that, I came back. To San Diego, a little bit unsure of what I was going to do, and I immediately started working inside of the Poway Unified School District, where my mother was already working. And I actually started off, believe it or not, working security at the very high school I am now. Worked 16 years. At Westview High School in the security department, then as a student mentor, and also I coached 2 sports, football and track and field. So the last couple of years being the head track coach at Westview High School. And then I moved back over here to Rancho Bernardo in 2019, 2020, and I took a much different role, the role that I'm in currently as a college and career guidance tech. So that's kind of my basic story.
That's an awesome story. Rhode Island. Come on, baby.
Rhode Island Rams. Oh, Rhode Island Rams, baby.
Oh,
Rhodey. Yes, sir.
And from the sounds of it, your mom was pretty influential in getting you into the field of education. But how has your experience been being a Black educator?
I would agree with you in the point that my mother's influence as far as my schooling, she always worked in the district. So, that rubs off on you. I was used to being around a lot of staff members and teachers of other schools growing up. My experience is she was an information tech person in our district. My experience is a little bit different in that regard, but I've had a good experience, but I've had a mixed experience as well. I think when I say that, I was well known in the district, even because of my mother. But my experience, when I say being mixed, it's mostly around. I think it took me a while to find my path. You know what I mean? Both from an acceptance standpoint on my own side, and also for those being willing to put me in certain positions that I could thrive.
Right. Wow, that's amazing. Well, and your experience is crazy. The way you've been able to travel and grow and extend the East Coast, West Coast, that really goes a long way. What they personally has really influenced your practice as an educator?
Personally, I think it many times starts with your parents. My mother was a computer tech in our district. My father he's a systems analyst. He used to work for a company called NCR. And I think my parents are, they're a strong influence on me as just a human being, but also in the way that I've carried myself, I think, in my work over the years. I was always taught that you have to, and this is both good. I think there's 2 sides of this coin, but I was always taught that you have to really work hard, sometimes be twice as good, and And so I've taken that to heart. I've always tried to make sure that I brought my best, but also my parents they're people, how do I put this? They're the type of people in our community who, as I grew up, I had people who lived with me, other kids who lived with me, my parents took in, because their situations weren't so great. And I have tried to, I guess, I didn't think about it that way, but subconsciously, I think that seeped into who I am as an educator. I'm always looking, I always do my best to look out for the best interest of other people. And hopefully I've been successful at that, but that's been my main focus. I feel like as an educator, you are in a people business, and, everything you do should be people-centered.
Yes, indeed. Yes, indeed. Okay, so now here's a trick for you.
Okay.
Machine.
Hit me with it.
To any point.
Okay.
So
Okay.
go back and we find young Jamal. What advice or tip would you give young Jamal, knowing your journey that you've been on thus far? What would you go back and advise young Jamal on?
Oh, that's kind of a deep one. I think first and foremost, I would advise young Jamal to accept who he is and accept the power that he has, and that to never stand behind people sometimes when you yourself are clearly a leader. So, and I don't say that in an egocentric way, but more so it's an accept what you are good at, and that you bring value to the organizations that you're a part of. I think that's it's something I've learned as I've gotten older. I think we all, we get older and we get wiser, but I have accepted certain things, and it's done me well, especially in the last few years. But also accept that you bring value to people. So.
Right. Well, and that is such a strong point, because so many times young Black kids don't feel like they have any power. So that is huge advice right there. Beautiful.
Absolutely.
Love it. Okay, so let me, how valuable is it to have a Black teacher, a Black counselor like you are, support staff for our students?
This is, I think, a great question, and it's a question you see just the point of having Black faces in many different aspects of life is important. But when you're talking about education specifically, I work in a district that is not predominantly Black or Latino, so you don't have a lot of Black and brown faces, whether that's staff or students, compared to some other districts within San Diego. I think I felt early on when I was younger that I knew that I meant something as a Black man to the other two, the kids of color on campus. But what I have found over the years is that having a Black educator, whether that's classified teacher, counselor, administrator, has a greater effect on the rest of the population of students. And in that, I'd say, if I were to dig into that a little bit deeper, is that over the years, I think, especially when I became a head coach, let's say I was the head track and field coach, all of the kids who were not your Black and brown kids, it meant a lot that they saw a person in a position of power that made decisions, because for them, and I think it's subconscious in a lot of ways, it allowed them to take direction from someone who looked like me. Whereas they may not have had that experience up until then. And so why is that important? Well, those young men and women will now be, in a few years, young adults, and they will have bosses. Or 10 years from then, they will be the boss, and they will be looking to hire people. And so the more that you have Black and brown faces in positions where they're either making decisions or giving directions or coaching, teaching, I think it's good for everybody, not just the Black kids that sometimes we we center that on, oh, you have Coach Jamal you can go talk to there, this and that. Over the years, many of my students who are not Black or brown have sometimes given me, they've shown, excuse me, have shared with me the effect that I had on them. And I have never taken that lightly.
Yes, Jamal. That's
sorry, I get a little wordy sometimes.
No, man, you hit it right on the head, and really our kids, all of our kids being able to see that. And that reminds me of Pedro Noguera and his quote, "An equity tide raises all boats."
Yes, sir.
He's lifted by that Black educator, by that Black counselor, by you. And it's phenomenal. Jamal, my man.
Yes, sir.
Dropping in for our Profiles in Power. I really appreciate it.
All right. I appreciate you, Dr. Dorsey.
All right. Please join us again with one of our next Profiles in Power. Have a great Black History Month. Bye-bye.